Hi, I'm Ferdy Serum, and I want to show you today how the Microseasons project is a perfect way to begin learning to use the 21st century teaching and learning skills in the RoundTrip Learning Cycle that we use in New Mexico FACES. So let's take a look. In our learning model, we alternate between building agency and expressing agency. And we do that in 4 phases: when we're working as an individual on the lesson, and then we work as a team in practice and feedback, and finally the individual again when we're making our revisions. The Microseasons project is an excellent way to begin doing this because it only takes 5 days, and it happens every 5 days, so there's always a new chance to begin. Let's look at this video made by Joanna McPherson, one of the 2 people, along with Betsy Williams, who created the Microseasons.
In the chaos and unpredictability of nature, the seasons and their qualities provide a little map to navigate each year, and so when I first came across the Japanese 72 microseasons, I was fascinated to learn more. There wasn't much information available in English, so it took a few years to gather and decode the full set, but then I began to use it as a starting point to learn more about Japan, and from there apply it to what was going on in my own local environment halfway around the world. The project with Betsy was a perfect step forward, exploring the markers through poetry and pottery, a connection we found despite living over 4,000 miles apart and having never met. We recorded the Japanese seasonal markers along with our own thoughts and visualization. The haiku prompts were transformed into a tiny plate every 5 days throughout 1 year. We have now turned our Instagram collaboration into a book.
All right, so today is the 4th microseason, Soil Becomes Muddy. And just as in every one of the sessions that we're doing, we're very fortunate to be able to work from a book called 72 Microseasons, and we're very fortunate to have one of the 2 authors of the book joining us today. Betsy Williams is the artist who created the plate that you see, the tiny plate, and her friend Joanna McPherson, who's in London, created the haiku. But it is tremendous that each week now we have people who've done it before contributing new stuff and additional stuff, and we have people joining in. So today we have pictures by Jason, who is going to be doing some workshops next week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in the community of practice, explaining about 21st century teaching and learning skills and how that all works. But Jason has sent in some photographs and words today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start by playing what you all have sent me. And I'll just make this large enough so that we can see it. So for the next 4 minutes and 19 seconds, just absorb the visuals and the writing that's with it, and then afterwards we'll get a chance to talk about what this meant to us. So here's your 4 minutes and 19 seconds of Zen. All right. So, hi, Renee Beth. I didn't see you come in. And hey, AU, glad to see you here too. Um, for those of you who maybe came in while the video was playing, we're very fortunate today to be joined by Betsy Williams, who those last images they just knocked me out, Betsy. That was so perfect. So one of the things I'd like to hear, because some of you are doing this for the first time, what was your experience like? What was it like for you, Jason, to go outside? I think you did this 5 minutes after we talked on the phone, and you had sent me those pictures right after that. What was the experience like of getting outside and doing it? And then what is the experience like of knowing that people are seeing what you've created and that you're going to hear their reactions to what you've created today?
It was a nice experience to take time to observe and reflect on what's going on around me and kind of stop the busyness and think about what was immediately visible. And I thought about a few different ideas. There is a lot of construction going on actually right now. You can probably hear it now. The rainy season is over. So I thought about taking some pictures of some work sites. There's also some wonderful plum blossoms right now that are only out for a little while, and I think would have been a good choice. But, I think this project's a lot about building relationships, and I thought this would kind of help introduce a little bit where I'm coming from and where I'm at right now in the world. And the Bay Area is so wonderful, but we could really use some more rain than we've gotten so far.
Betsy, tell us a little bit about what you got where you live and how it was you came to do these pictures and that plate.
So that was Thursday. We got about 9 or 10 inches of snow. We live, it's about 4 miles of dirt road and then a 1/4 mile long driveway that goes up the hill. So when it snows, my husband gets on the tractor and he does the driveway and around to the back where the property meets the national forest, because we have a puppy who needs a lot of exercise. So I go outside with her. We're expecting her to go into her first heat, and I don't want her to get pregnant, so she doesn't go out without me. So he plows all that part where I walk. So that's what's going on up here. It's very muddy. Some days it's nice first thing in the morning. I get up around 7 usually and take the dogs for a walk. It's about usually between like 10 and 20 degrees. So everything's nice and hard. I can go out in my regular slip-on shoes. But by noon, like now it's 38 degrees, it gets to the point where if you have slip-on shoes and you pick up your foot, you have to make sure that your shoe comes with you. Otherwise, it's just a very deep bleh. So I just, every time I go around this circle, I kept noticing the pattern of the tracks of the tractor wheels, or tractor tires, I should say. And just how it changes during the course of the day from frozen to muddy to frozen to muddy.
The Microseasons is a 5-day project, and here we see an example, the tiny plate that Betsy Williams made with the swallows, and the haiku that Joanna made, sharp sound upon high, a quickening of the heart, the swallows are back, representing what happens on April 5th. So on day 1, we're working on the current project, but we're also getting ready for the next one. And the tasks for day 1 are to watch the webinar, where you'll see what people have put together for the particular microseason we're looking at, as well as the launch of the next one. The ones that you'll be looking at today began 5 days ago, so every 5 days there's a new one. And your task on the new one is to go outside, take 2 photos that show what you observe where you live, and then also create some text that helps explain those photos and why you picked them. On day 2, you're preparing to share. So your tasks are to decide which photo and text combinations work the best, and then decide a method you're going to use to share them. You might make a PowerPoint, you might make Google Slides, a Word document, Flipgrid, Survey 123. You have a lot of choices, so you're going to choose one of those. On day 3, you're going to get and give feedback as you've submitted what you did. So your tasks are to either join the live Zoom session where you can contribute automatically, looking at what people have said and have a conversation, but sometimes your schedule doesn't allow or your connectivity doesn't allow, in which case you can look at the recorded version and upload your feedback there. We want to get feedback from everybody for what they've submitted. On day 4 now, you're going to take that feedback to heart, and your tasks are to make any desired revisions to what you've done per the feedback, and you're also then going to talk about how you've used the 21st century skills that we're going to look at in the next segment of this video. And day 5 is the same as day 1, only as you see, the picture has changed because now it's April 10th and we're looking at the snow geese. So again, the tasks are to watch the webinar. This time you'd be watching what your colleagues did for the April 5th one. And then the people who are starting a new one will go ahead and start the new one. So let's look at the skills that are revealed by doing this project. Again, we said we're building agency and expressing agency. And the way we do it is by looking at the skills and what they allow us to do. So self-direction allows me to really take advantage of creativity and innovation. And if I'm using technology for learning, that gives me the ability to communicate and collaborate. If I draw upon my local resources, my global connections, my local connections, I can then use the critical thinking that's necessary to do the entire project. There's no one way to do it. You could do it in any combination, but during the 5 days, you will have a chance to touch all 8 skills. Here's the way that I did it. I think about it in terms of outbound. What's going out? In the lesson, we're expressing things going out, we're practicing, and then in the inbound, we're getting feedback from others, and we're using that feedback in revision. So here's how I've thought about I would use these skills in my Microseasons project. On the outbound for the lesson, I was starting with creativity and innovation because I wanted to be creative in the pictures that I selected and the text to go with them, and I need to be able to communicate that. So those were the 2 skills that I picked for day 1. For day 2, when I'm practicing, I saw that it was necessary for me to use self-direction to schedule my time and understand which tools I'll use, and the technology for learning to be able to have the tools to be able to share in the next stage. On the feedback, now I'm going to be getting feedback coming, and you'll see as we're taking the things off the tree, we have a limited number of choices left. In terms of the feedback, critical thinking is essential, and is collaboration. So I get a chance to exercise both of those skills, and I can talk about how I use them. And finally, in the revision phase, now I've touched all 8 of the skills by thinking about where was I using local connections, where was I using global connections, how did that work out across the colleagues and people that chose to do the same microseason that I was doing. The end result is we can use microseasons as a formative assessment for project-based learning because we're creating story maps. On day 1, when we're selecting the images and text, this gives us the opportunity to show how we're doing creativity and innovation, as well as self-direction. Critical thinking is necessary to decide which ones we're going to use and in what order, and making local connections because these are local photographs. So you could choose any one of these in day 1. On day 2, when you're creating your story map, using technology for learning is absolutely important, as is self-direction, especially if you don't know how to do making a story map. Critical thinking goes into how you're going to organize it, along with your creativity and innovation and your communication from the previous round. So some of these you'll be touching more than once. On day 3, we're using technology for learning, collaboration, and communication in a combined way. along with our critical thinking, making global connections, and making local connections. And when we go back to revise and finally submit, we're using technology for learning, critical thinking, and self-direction, along with making our local connections and our global connections. So this shows how you have many opportunities to demonstrate and provide evidence of your use of the 21st century skills inside the Microseasons project using your story map. So we have the opportunity to visit all of these in 5 days, and it's a great way to get started in this process. I hope this has been clear. I hope to see you on a Microseasons. Thank you very much.